Hello, everybody, and welcome to our day early comics review video. I'm Jason,
I'm Andy.
and we're with Infinity Flux Comics in Chattanooga, Tennessee, where every Monday after all our comics have been delivered and we're finished bagging and boarding them, we divide them up. We read the ones that most people want to hear about, and we do this spoiler light review where we're going to tell you all the major first appearances, major deaths, things like that, like sort of collectability reasons you might want these comics. But then we're also going to tell you what are they about,
Mhm.
particularly the number ones, so that you can connect with the ones you really want to read or the art you're really into when you go to your comic store on Wednesday or whatever day of the week you visit it. I'd say we have a pretty medium week this week.
Yeah, yeah.
You see some of the bigger titles that we're going to go over, but I think we have about 24 books we're going to hit today. We're going to show all their variants and all their incentives. So without further ado, let's begin.
Yep, beginning with one I've got a slight bias towards, but this is Star Wars Hyperspace Stories #1. This is our first Star Wars book back at Dark Horse after many, many years. I think, what, pre 2011
Yeah.
time frame.
Mm-hmm.
I saw a lot of people saying, they love seeing the Dark Horse logo next to Star Wars. It's just, there's so many years of history there. So this kicks off the next era of Star Wars at Dark Horse. With this series, it's going to be 12 issues long, and it will bounce around from different time points and everything, starting with this one that is set during the prequel era, as you can see on the cover with Obi-Wan and Anakin. In this one, we have Padme's heading on a diplomatic mission to a planet, and she's being accompanied by the Wookiee named Yaru and his daughter, Viveen. It's Viiveenn. So Viveen, uh, and I just know from reasons that that she and an item that she is carrying is going to be really important to this series. Um, so in it, Padme realizes that this has turned out to be an ambush, and Obi-Wan and Anakin have to come to the rescue. So there's a lot of things saying, "Oh, this is the next all ages Star Wars," and it is, and a lot of Star Wars is all ages. I would associate this more with feeling like you're watching an episode of Clone Wars. There's still peril, there's still all of that. So if you just like your Star Wars really actiony, kind of one and done adventures, that is what this is going to be. Also, I'm biased to this because I'm going to be working on this for issue #3 that is coming up fairly soon, to be determined the exact date of it. But I do know from that what's going to kind of be important in this, and you've got to keep an eye on the item that the little girl Wookiee is carrying around. That's going to be key to stories going forward. We also have a variant for this. This is the Valderaman. I can't pronounce anybody's names today. So really cool. I know a lot of people are excited about Star Wars back at Dark Horse, so don't miss out on this first entry into the new era of stuff. And I know they have a lot of things planned that are just simmering, waiting to be announced.
Okay, so I read Damage Control #1 from Marvel. This is a new 5-issue miniseries from the creator of the TV show The Goldbergs. So, Damage Control, they used to be a group who would come in and they would pick up after superhero battles. They have become more than that. It kind of gets explained in this. So, our point of view character is an intern named Gus. You don't even get his last name, he's just Gus. But that is our main character. So, first appearance, Gus. His boss, who's hiring him, is the head intern who, used to be in his shoes. His name is Bart. So, first appearance of Bart.
They just keep rolling in.
This is a big week for one name characters. This is a humor series. The Goldbergs is a humor TV show, so of course this is a humor series too. Well, Bart kind of tells Gus, we don't just pick up after battles. Now we're sponsored by Stark Industries and the U.S. government. We also we take hold of and contain anything left behind, which are some powerful objects. So sometimes. And so you get to follow Gus around on his first day in the mailroom, where he has such adventures as he has to get an ice cream cake to a particular worker before it melts. And of course, that's a lot harder than it seems when you're in a building where parts of it have been engineered by Reed Richards to be much larger than they would appear, sort of TARDIS style. So you get to see how that goes. I mean, this is a straight up humor comic. Like when it comes to like drama versus humor, some things will do like 50-50. This is like 80% humor, 20%. There is a story there. Maybe it'll get a little more story based later, but I'm not sure. So it's the sort of thing where if it's like they'll tell dude, hey, you got to get all this mail delivered by the end of the day, and he's like, well, what if I don't? And they're like, if you even miss one piece, it could mean the end of the world. That's the sort of book it is. There's also a backup story with different sort of sillier sort of. It kind of I didn't look at who the artist was, but it almost reminded me a little bit of Scotty Young style, where everybody looks like a lot younger and smaller. There's a backup story that is even sillier. So you have your main story that's pretty silly, but you could tell that is ongoing. Something's going to happen here. And our backup story where it's like, no, this is a one and done about somebody's mom coming to visit work, finding an infinity stone, and getting in a fight with Thanos. It's just completely one and done sort of kookiness. So that is what's going on in Damage Control issue number 1. If you like your superheroics with a side of humor, it may be for you. If you don't like humor with your superheroics, I'd steer clear. So here is the variant. This is the Robson variant. And yeah, there are cameos by superheroes in it. Moon Knight has a cameo when they're in like a Starbucks. They get his name wrong on his cup. She-Hulk's in it. Ghost Rider's in it. How would you like to do an elevator ride with Ghost Rider next to Ghost Rider? You're the only two in the elevator. And so is Nightcrawler, who they totally abuse his powers in this. I can't believe how much they abuse Nightcrawler.
But it's not like a team book with all these heroes.
Not at all. Nope. It is intern Gus trying to make it through his first day.
Okay, well, next up for me, I have Amazing Spider-Man. This is number 8, or in legacy numbering, it's 902. So, this is our official first appearance of the new Spider-Man suit. Now, is that a big deal? I don't know. Spider-Man's had a lot of suits over the years, but this one is really cool. So, in the previous issue, the Vulture has been really wailing on Peter Parker because Peter revealed to Vulture's granddaughter about Vulture and how many people he's killed and all that. Now he's really upset. Spider-Man's never seen him this upset. So most of this is a fight between Vulture and Spider-Man, which I really liked. I thought this series has gone back and forth on action issues and then a lot of dialogue issues. This is mostly an action issue. And in the last issue, we left Spider-Man where he was falling to his death because he was out of web fluid in his web shooters. So how is he going to survive that? You'll have to read it and see, but it's a really cool idea of how he gets out of this mess. The other thing is, now that his costume's broken, he needs a new one, and he remembers that Norman offered him this costume in the previous issue when we saw it hanging up. But the problem with that is, it's clear across the city. So how's he going to manage to make it over there in time? So this is a very quick action, Spider-Man thinking on his feet, moving through the city, all of that. But because Norman seems to be a good guy now after the Sin Eater storyline, Spider-Man doesn't necessarily love the idea of taking a new suit from him, but he doesn't have a whole lot of choice. So we get to see some of its gadgets, what its abilities are, a little bit about its glider form, and why Norman Osborn, even though Spider-Man asked him to, refuses to bring the suit to him. It's a really interesting story and may make you a little sympathetic for Norman Osborn. You'll have to see. But I thought this was a really great issue. I'm very excited about this, however long this little storyline is going to go on, because if it's anything like this one, it's going to be a lot of fun. So that is our A cover, the Romita Jr., who is still on art for now on Amazing Spider-Man.
It's a great cover, and it always matters a bit, at least, every new outfit.
Yeah.
Some matter more than others, but people care.
Then we have the Del Predator variant. We have I really like this one. This is the Coelho variant, where part of it is kind of modern and part of it's retro. And then we have this 1 in 25 Gleason variant that's so cool, where he's ripping out of his old suit into his new suit that we're selling to our customers for $25.
Okay, I read Detective Comics issue 1063. This is the second issue with the new team. I mean, you can tell just on the cover, they have just changed everything about how Detective Comic looks. And I was telling Andy before the show, my favorite thing about the new Detective Comics is probably the art. You know, with the story, it's going to take a little while. Ram V, he's not trying to do a story where in the first issue it's like a major action-packed thing. He has a lot of seeds he's planting that you'll have to wait for them to come to fruition. But the art right away is very gothic, dark, that style Batman art. Really, really good. I haven't seen it done quite so well in a while. So I really like the art to this. Now, this issue does have a first appearance. It has a first appearance of Gale Tenclaw, who is a sort of head enforcer. It's hard to tell for sure who he's working for, but I think he's working for the Arzen family. They're the ones who were introduced last issue, who appear to be the new major force in this arc of Detective Comics. So anyway, first appearance of Gale Tenclaw, head enforcer, probably working for the Arzen family. So in this, Batman is trying to find out who has been infecting villains with this like green zombie ooze that turns them, evil, but then eventually kills them. He's been going all around the city trying to find this out, but at the same time, something's been eating at him. Something has been eating at Bruce Wayne since last issue, and that something is Barbatos. So Barbatos was sort of in his mind last issue. He's in his mind again this issue. It's real scary, scary parts when Barbatos appears. And the question is it really, the demon back, or is it all in Bruce's head? So that's another side of this. I mean, you could tell there are multiple plot lines running alongside each other. There's the Arzen family, and there's the Barbatos thing. So back to the Arzen family, you get more on who they are and their deep ties to Gotham City. That is revealed in this issue. That's as far as I go with my spoilers. But if you read this issue, you will understand exactly what their connection is with Gotham and what their claim is and why they're coming to Gotham. I guess already there, some of them, and meddling so much. Lastly, Harvey Dent has a good bit in this issue. Him and Bruce have a really good scene together where, Harvey talks about how he is rehabilitated. Unfortunately, by the end of this issue, some forces may conspire against Harvey, and we may see another reemergence of Two-Face. Against his own wishes, though. So a lot going on, Detective Comics 1063. There is also the Commissioner Gordon backup story, so the second part of that, and that's taking place before, I think, Joker's last issue. It's like sort of a fill-in story they started last issue. So we have two variants to show you. Here is the Jim Lee and Williams variant.
Very cool.
And then we have this 1 in 25 Yoshitaka Amano variant for $45. I'm really happy about Yoshitaka Amano continuing to do covers pretty infrequently, but just been a longtime fan way back since the Final Fantasy games.
I love this idea of Two-Face Harvey Dent, that like every time he gets good, something happens and talks about. It's like the classic cartoon where like someone stupid gets hit on the head and they become smart, and then they turn around and step on a rake and knocks them, they get dumb again.
Harvey should know the minute he's bragging to Bruce about how he's all better, it means by the end of that issue or the next one, he's gonna that's all gonna be ruined for him.
And next up for me, we have issue number 2, which is also the final issue of Batman Beyond the White Knight Red Hood. So, a really cool issue here. We got introduced to a new character in the last issue named Gan, who, I don't want to say she idolizes Red Hood, but she understands the need for a Robin in the city and kind of understands what he does. So, she was wearing a Robin costume in the last one. He wasn't too keen on that, but she showed that she's actually a pretty capable Robin. And so he decides, okay, if this is going to happen, I'm going to train you. And what does Red Hood find in this? But he actually enjoys having a sidekick. He talks about he actually kind of sees why Batman has one. It's more fun to fight crime as a team, and be able to play off each other and have someone there to back you up and all of that. But just like tends to happen, Red Hood falls into the same path that Bruce did while training him. And he suddenly can see that Gan is going down the same path he did when he was Robin, and he sees kind of the danger in that. So a really interesting, the shoe is on the other foot for Red Hood, and seeing how first he sees why a Robin's good, and then he turns around and does the same thing that Bruce did to him, and puts Gan's life in danger because of that. So I won't give away how this one ends. This is a direct lead into the next issue of Beyond the White Knight. So I feel like this is pretty essential reading if you don't want to be confused in the next one when certain characters show up, or characters may look a little different. I think this is pretty important for that. And this has probably been one of my favorite, even though it's 2 issues, tie-in stories with the White Knight universe in a long time. So highly recommend White Knight Beyond presents Red Hood, all of that. We've got a really nice variant for this as well. This is the Jim Chung variant.
All right, so another series I've been enjoying to read every issue is Grimm. So Grimm issue number 4 is out this Wednesday. So last issue we had our main character Jess, so you see on the cover here, and her 2 Grim Reaper allies. They were trying to escape the entity known as the End, which was turned on to them by Jess's old boss, Adira, because she has been doing things and showing abilities that a Grim Reaper is not supposed to have. Well, this issue, you get to see how they escape the End. They do something very daring to escape the End, and it takes them back to Earth, to a city that probably many of you have been to. I've been there a few times, but a major city where supposedly Death is hiding out. And so this does have a first appearance. It's the first appearance of Death, who is obviously a major character in this story. He's been missing. The vacuum of his absence has created some of why the story is going on. But also, Jess learns she has another power she didn't know she had. She has to find this out in the world of the living. So you'll have to read the issue to see what this other power is. So another very eventful issue of Grimm. And like I say with all the issues, the art, just fantastic, top-notch art in this book. I really do enjoy it. I wish it would come out even faster than monthly. And lots of good variants, of course. So we have the foil variant of the main cover. This is so shiny,
hard to see.
so dark and shiny. But in real life, when you take it out of this, it looks very nice. We have the Beam variant. Then, of course, you gotta have your creepy Jenny Frison variant. And, I kind of know who these characters are, I think, from the end of the issue. They're not exactly... You'll just have to see what you think.
It's not spelled out.
Right.
Yeah.
These could be upcoming. I have an idea, but I'm not sure. I think they're people that were in a crowd. I don't think they were focal characters, but I could be wrong. As cool as they are, this might be characters that haven't actually appeared yet. Here is the 1 per store variant for $30.
Their eyes are just so creepy.
Yeah, I think they're part of just a general group of Reapers that are seen at the end. But once again, maybe I'm wrong because of, that she did a cover with them. Here's the 1 in 25 Virgin variant of that for $40. And lastly, there's a 1 in 10 DeMeo variant that we're selling to our customers for $10.
That one's really cool.
Yeah.
Really cool design.
Much brighter than the others too.
Yeah.
But that's DeMeo.
Yeah, everything he does is lit with neon
electric
lights.
and glowing.
Okay, next up is the return of a fan favorite series. This is Wynd. This is Wynd Throne in the Sky #1. So, I'm not going to go into detail about what Wynd is because this is the 3rd volume of Wynd, or book 3, or however you want to call it. I highly recommend it. It's very good. A fantasy about this boy called Wynd who's got wings in a town where you're not supposed to have anything weird, and so he escapes, and this is kind of him on the run with his group of friends and comrades as they fight vampires and very magical fantasy creatures. But this is each issue of it too is, I believe, double sized, so really cool. If you are a fan of Wynd or you've never read it, I would say it does give you a good refresher of the story of Wynd. But if you really want to read it and you haven't read any Wynd, I suggest go back and reading the first 2 volumes because it's a very rich story and you don't want to miss any of the nuances. Of course, this is by James Tynion, so it is very well structured with incredibly endearing characters. It's semi all ages. I know they kind of tout as all ages, but there's still peril and all of that like you'd find in any kind of young adult novel. So that is Wynd Throne in the Sky #1.
Yeah, and I think Tynion has like insinuated it's on the cusp of being optioned a few times in the last while. And being that, here it is, the 3rd volume of it.
Yeah, I could definitely see that because it's such a interesting
kept
world.
alive and developed.
So we have a Momoko variant. We have the foil Dialinus. That's your interior artist. Another one that's really hard to see. That is a foil one. We have the Panrazis variant. And this is cool. We have a Greg Capullo variant. Wynd's looking a little bit scarier on the cover. And there is a foil Capullo. We also have a 1 in 10 Christian Ward variant that we are selling to our customers for $10. We have a Virgin 1 in 25 Capullo for $25. And we have a 1 per store Dialynas. I can never say Diallynas. Dialynas variant that we're selling for $35. So a lot of variants for this because it is a super popular series.
All right, so I read Miles Morales Spider-Man issue number 41. So a lot of things to tell you about this. The first is this is the first appearance of Billy Morales, Miles' sister, but she's grown up in this alternate, reality he's in, as the Spectacular Spider Smasher. She has a whole 1 page where she says her name. I'm the Spectacular Spider Smasher. It's a new outfit we haven't seen her in. It looks very good and very cool. So I think some people are going to want this just for that. So it's not her first appearance. And I think she's being called Spider Smasher, but this time she's pretty much like, I am now the city's protector, the Spectacular Spider Smasher. And the suit, I think it's the first time we've seen that particular one on her. So I think that's a pretty big deal, a whole 1 page thing towards the end. I have to tell you that. We promised to tell you major things like that. As to how it all goes down, I can't tell you. But last issue, you had Miles and Billy and Genki and their team. They freed Uncle Aaron from Selim. And this issue, Selim has caught up with them. This is in the alternate reality Brooklyn they're in. And they have their last throwdown fight. Like, this is the end of the arc. And not all of our heroes will survive. One of the major heroes, possibly not from the main Spider-Man realm, or I'm sorry, the main Marvel universe as we know it, but someone major dies by the end of the issue. It ends things out, which makes sense because some of you may not know this, but this is the penultimate issue of the series.
Yeah.
So Saladin Ahmed, who's been writing the series, has decided, I've written all the stories that I had planned out. So next issue, issue 42, is the final issue. And so I think this wraps up this whole arc, and the next issue is just going to be sort of a wrap up the whole series sort of issue. So sort of sad to see things come to a close, but a pretty big bang end of this issue at least. And will we see the spectacular Spider Smasher again? I don't know, but they're definitely leaving her with a really cool character design.
Do you think she could almost be like a Spider-Verse character?
I think that's almost certainly what we'll
Yeah.
end up seeing her in, is some sort of Spider-Verse thing. So we have, for the variant, here is the Rodriguez variant for the whole Beyond Amazing Spider-Man variant line.
Very classic.
Yep.
Okay, and next up is our next installment of A.X.E. Judgment Day. Every time I say it, I feel like I've got to be like, A.X.E, Avengers, X-Men, Eternals, if you're not aware of what A.X.E stands for by this point. But this is part 3 of the main story. So, in the last one, you had the Avengers headquarters, which was based in a Celestial, being woken up. But, oh no, we woke it up and suddenly it starts making threats, like saying you have 24 hours before all of humanity will be judged. So Tony Stark's not feeling too good about that, because it was kind of his idea to do it, and then he kind of doomed them all by unleashing that. But I'm a little confused with something, because he says he's going to judge people, and then suddenly, like, the first person he judges is Captain America. But he said you have like 24 hours, so I'm not sure like why he just like pinpointed Captain America and was like, "You first." But funny enough, and it's not a spoiler, Captain America basically gets the thumbs down, and they're all like, "If Captain America is not good enough, then none of us are good enough to survive this." So this is them trying to figure out how do we get around either being judged or showing ourselves as being worthy or whatever it is. This is also a return of a pretty big character, one that has already been announced. He's going to have his own like one-shot issue and everything, but I'm not going to spoil it if you don't know. But it's a character I think Marvel wants people to be more familiar with going forward. And then lastly, I'll say, with a story that involves the Eternals so heavily, what about the Deviants? The actual Deviants? What are they up to, considering, you know, the Eternals kind of called out mutants as deviants? What do the Deviants actually think about that?
Taking a vacation.
This is really interesting, bringing the Deviants into it, and you find out what role they are going to play in these events. So, very interesting issue. I'm still wondering what the end game of it is. Is it to knock the X-Men back down, or make the Eternals a bigger deal, or what is? I'm not sure, but it's holding my attention so far because I really want to know what's going to happen. So that is A.X.E Judgment Day number 3. We've got some variants for it. We've got the Dan Jurgens variant with a bunch of characters all clustered together. We've got the Peach Momoko variant. And we've got the Scotty Young variant. And yes, it does have a celestial fart joke on it, so enjoy that.
All right, so I read Harley Quinn issue number 21. This is the 4th part of Task Force XX, where Harley and her team goes into space. They get sent into space by Luke Fox. And so the first in this that I want to tell everybody about, the collectability reason, is Luke Fox puts on a new outfit. So he's not Batwing. It is not a Batwing outfit. It looks more like fox shaped, and it has like a fox symbol on it. He doesn't give himself a name though. He does talk about how he didn't want to bat anything to it. But this could be the beginning of Luke Fox having a new super identity as a new character. So,
I think so, because there's no way with that suit that he's going to call himself Batwing. It doesn't fit the aesthetic, nothing like that. So, and it's a very cool looking suit.
It is. He gets a big sort of almost full page thing on this new suit. So that's sort of collectability reason you might want this. As far as what is going on in the story is last issue, that Element X creature used a teleporter and went to Earth. And so now it's up to Harley and her team to figure out how can they get back to try to stop it from killing its creator, Luke Fox. So that's what's kind of going on in the story. And also, this creature has sentience, and it's mad at Luke, and it tells him, I was trapped up on the moon, and I watched all your pop culture. And it does all these like funny, weird pop culture references. But you can tell that watching all this pop culture has made this creature go even more insane. So, you still have that Harley style humor in the book, even if it's not coming out of Harley's mouth. It's just that's the sort of adventure she gets hooked into. So that is what is going on in Harley Quinn issue number 21. We have some really good variants.
So I'd say this is some of the best bit of variant covers we've got.
So yeah, good luck picking your favorite, because this is the Derek Chew one. I mean, right off the bat, lots of different Harleys, different style Harleys, different expressions. I like that one right away for that reason.
Yep.
But then here is the Huang swimsuit variant. They're doing all the swimsuit variants, and Harley is sailing through the toxic waste with her hyenas. And then, if that's not enough, here is the Ryan Sook homage variant to Killing Joke. I mean, you just kind of have to.
I really give props to Ryan Sook for how much this looks like a Brian Bolland cover.
Yeah.
It's pretty incredible how well he can do that style.
So, we do have also a 1 in 25 Orzu variant that we're selling for $25. Too many good covers.
Harley's been knocking out. Everybody just wants to work on Harley, so everybody gives it their best, and really cool. Plus, she's got her 30th anniversary.
Yep.
Okay, next up, one that we haven't talked about in a little while, but I just wanted to catch all up. This is Action Comics number 1046. So we know a lot is coming on the Superman front, the return of Kal-El, and the World oversized giant issue that's going to wrap it all up. That is going to be the next part of the story. So this is kind of the penultimate issue in the World story that's been going on for so long. It's really cool. And in this one, we see kind of how Superman may get his powers back. And not only that, but even noted that he could be stronger than he was before, almost like a god. So I'm very interested to see when Superman comes back in full power, what that's going to mean, and how he's changed by all of this, and is he really going to be even that much more powerful? So that's really cool. That's our A story, and then in the B story, that is actually where this cover comes from. Steel is not in the main story; he's actually in the backup story, and in that. Without giving anything away, it actually uses one of my favorite 90s Superman villains that no one ever talks about. But it is teased that somebody is coming. And I think we are getting our hints of whatever the new Doomsday storyline is going to be coming up. We know there's going to be a new Doomsday-esque character. I don't remember what he's called, but he's going to be one of the stories. It just feels like there's something brewing on that front coming up. So... really good issue of Action Comics. I think they actually just are collecting all the World stuff into 2 volumes. I think that's going to be a really good read to get. And we have some really nice variants for that. Here is a Libramejo. He does, other than doing a really good Batman, he does a really good Superman as well. And we have the Art Germ swimsuit special cover with Supergirl.
Okay, so I read Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Armageddon Gain opening moves number 2. So this was just a little 2-shot that leads into Armageddon Game. And I like how they did this. When you're going to have an event book and you want to do a lead-in, I think the best way to do it is show what all your characters were doing that got them involved. Mm-hmm. And so, like the first issue, in this issue you have Shredder, and he's with the ghost of his dead wife. And they end up going into, using her ghostly powers, they go into the minds of Baxter Stockman in one story, and they go into the mind of Madame Null in another story. And so in each of these stories, when they're in their minds, you get to see what they've been through lately, what's happened to them in the past. And it's a lot of motivation building for both of these villains as to why are they going to be such big threats coming up in the Armageddon game? Why might they team up with the Rat King? And it's funny because this is all pre-Rat King. You don't see Rat King in any of these stories.
Mm-hmm.
You know, this isn't as simple as them just the Rat King walks up to them and talks to them. This is more about who they are. It's all really well written. I'm always shocked how much is put in these Ninja Turtle stories. Real good writing, despite the fact it also has awesome fighting and cool mutants, animal things. So the last story, though, because this is a double size issue like the other one, it might even be more than double size. I got drawn in while I was reading it. I didn't count the pages. But the last story is Shredder, who is seeking redemption, which it's kind of known, it's already been talked about, that he's going to lead the turtle team against Rat King in Armageddon game. So this is the last part of the two-parter that leads into it. So next up is the full Armageddon game, which is going to be the full 8-issue event series starting soon. There was one other little thing. I forgot there's the epilogue where you do see Rat King finally. He wasn't in any of this.
Mm-hmm.
You know, his shadow lingers over all of it, but you see him at the end as he approaches Leather Krang, and you get to see it's kind of a comical exchange in a way, but how he is going to try to recruit Leather Krang.
Mm.
So a lot going on in this issue. If you're a Turtle fan and you want to get pumped for this series, I think they're doing an excellent job of the prequel stuff.
Yeah, the structure of it, how they've built up to an event, is like things that a lot of companies should note. Like even people who aren't, caught up on Turtles or whatever, know of this upcoming story because of how well it's been planned and built to, and all the little one shots and all of that.
Yeah, a lot of thought and care in this. So there's only one variant. It's an incentive variant. So it's the 1 in 10 Kevin Eastman variant for $15. Of course, this has to do with the Madame Null story, because her story takes us into space and all.
Is it spelled with a K?
No,
Okay.
N-U-L-L.
Okay.
Yep.
We didn't want another Null situation. Okay, next up is a new book from Dark Horse that I am very happy to say I very much enjoyed. I want to make sure, yeah, it is Dark Horse. This is Minor Threats. This is written by Patton Oswalt and Jordan Bloom, and the art is by Scott Hepburn. So, Patton Oswalt he's a nerdy guy, and he's written a few comics, but I feel like this is one of the first that's like a series that he is helming by himself, or that it's not
original.
An original.
He's written for Marvel a bit.
Yeah, he's done backup stories or like in anthologies or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
He's done stuff, but this feels like an all his and Jordan Bloom's creation, and I gotta say I really enjoyed this. I thought it was a very unique idea. So, a former sidekick, who was called Playtime. Now she wasn't a hero sidekick; she was a villain sidekick. This is years after she was like a little girl when she was the I don't know if a villain sidekick has a special name, but that's what she was.
A sidekicker.
Yeah, more violent. She's now more grown up, and just the life of being a villain has kind of beaten her down, and she can't get jobs anymore. No one will like rent her houses because of her criminal record. So she finally gets a job working at a supervillain bar. So that's not a new idea. I think both Marvel and DC have supervillain bars, but it's a cool idea where at the end of the day, after all their heists and everything, all the villains get together and hang out. But she kind of sees them as like they haven't quite been enlightened the way she has about, they're planning all this stuff. It's not going to work out. They're talking about their big heists, but they're either never going to do it or they're going to get caught or something like that. So she's pretty jaded in the villain world. But all of a sudden, the doors smash open and a villain runs in carrying another villain. And, I mean, he's near death. And when they're all asking what happened, the superhero Insomniac did this to him. And now, this is kind of she talks about the mutual kind of cat and mouse of superheroes and villains, just like in any superhero universe, uh, they don't really kill. It's I knock you down, you get put in jail for a little while, you break out, we do the whole dance again. But Insomniac, who kind of is a stand-in for a Batman-like character, has they look at him like he meant to kill this character. So they find out why that is, and it's because the villain known as Stickman murdered uh, Insomniac's sidekick, his kid sidekick, and now that throws the entire town city into turmoil as the superheroes of their kind of Justice League are going around trying to find out who did this because they don't, or they're trying to find out where Stickman is. Uh, but the heroes are doing it because they're also afraid of Insomniac. So this character known as Playtime decides to resuit up and get together a team of villains to go find Stickman to kind of create balance in the city again because they kind of have a better idea of where he is than the heroes do. So that is a very, even though it wasn't brief, a brief description of what's going on in this because it is a very deep story. The relationship with Playtime and her former villain mentor is explored, and her kind of inability to find jobs and work and all of that is really interesting. The of course the characters they come up with are really goofy. They're kind of all amalgamous of other superheroes and everything. But if you're looking for a fun kind of spin on the superhero supervillain story that has a lot of comedy, has a lot of heart, all of that, I think Minor Threats is a really good one for that. You can see kind of the team she puts together down there. We also have a really awesome Mike Mignola variant with Stickman. He seems like a pretty scary character in this. So much scary that even other villains don't want to work with him when they talk about the past. We also have a Christian Ward variant.
Okay, I read Fantastic Four number 46. So one major thing in this is there's the first appearance of Reed Richards' half-sister, Joanna Jeffers. So Reed Richards just learned, he unearthed a letter from his father and found out he had another half-sister he never knew about. And her first full appearance is in this issue. She is a marine biologist and an eco-warrior. That's how she is described. Obviously, she's genius-level intelligence because she's related to Reed. So in this issue, Reed basically connects with her, brings her to the immediate family. She gets to see what it's like being around the whole Fantastic Four family. But he also takes her to sort of distant family members. You'll have to read to see who those are. The other plot line is, Reckoning War is over, but Johnny Storm can still not turn his flame off. He was cursed by Doom for things he did. And he's really angry he left. Well, in this issue, they may have a cure for him. You'll have to see how that works out. But really, the main thrust of the story is this new half-sister of Reed Richards, who I don't think we've seen the last of. So definitely a collectible reason to grab this, but also sort of a major point for just reading it and caring about Fantastic Four mythos and the Richards family line. So we have, as far as variants, here is the Silva variant, the Stormbreakers variant. And here is the Superlog Predator variant.
I feel like a Predator is something that they would run into on one of their adventures. It just fits.
Yeah, that definitely does. I'd like to see a Kirby drawn.
Oh my gosh, that would be really cool.
Yeah.
So next up, I've got a couple of Star Wars books from Marvel, starting with Darth Vader. Been seeing this cover for a while. This is Darth Vader number 26.
It's a fantastic cover.
It's really good, especially if you know his relationship with Sand. And that is what a lot of this issue is about, which, as goofy as it sounds, is pretty big for Anakin / Vader as a character. So, in this issue, we're still dealing with the Vader working with Sabe and the people of this planet to take down actually an Imperial governor that's really messing with this planet. So Vader not necessarily a good guy, but he doesn't like what they're doing. So he's gonna do that. But Sabe is missing, and there is a giant sandstorm that he's going to have to traverse. That they say no one can get through it, but Darth Vader, using some of his classic pod racing skills, is going to uh, get on and go through the sand. Now, what's big about this issue is a lot of it is actually flashbacks to his entire life. A lot of the scenes that involve sand, but it's really interesting how they take scenes from the prequels and put them together to make a narrative for Darth Vader. It's a really cool way they do it. It's very well written. And other thing I wanted to say is some places are saying this is the possible first appearance of a new power for Vader. I'll say it. It's not. There's no Vader doesn't do anything out of the norm for Vader in this. So not really. If you're picking up for that reason, don't bother. But pick it up because this is actually a really really good issue, and I feel like this was kind of a landmark issue they were building up to, just because of the story and the themes of it. So that is Darth Vader number 26. We've got some variants for that, like this A.X.E variant, really cool. We have the Sprouse Choose Your Destiny cover with Palpatine. And then also this week we had Dr. Aphra number 23. Cool stuff in this with Aphra being kind of possessed by the Spark Eternal, the Sith, or I don't even know if it's really a Sith artifact, but it's an artifact that basically gives the user Sith-like powers, even if they're not Force sensitive. And it has been attached to Aphra, and craziness ensues from that. Also, this has the return of two characters that have been missing for a while, and I think people are going to be really, really excited to see them back in this. So that is Dr. Aphra number 23. We have a Yagawa variant. There's stuff with the Archivist in this as well. And the Choose Your Destiny for this one is Darth Maul.
All right, I read Robin number 17. So sad news, this is the final issue of Robin. The series is over with this issue. I don't know, there's so much comic news I read. I don't know if I missed that news or if I forgot it or what happened, but it snuck up on me.
Yeah.
And this is a series I've read since issue 1. I've enjoyed it quite a bit. So this is a good final issue in that it is a good send-off issue, but at the same time, it's also a good lead-in issue to the upcoming Batman versus Robin series that they're doing. Event series that they're doing. So in this issue, you have Robin and Connor Hawke and Flatline and their team. They have found out that Lord Deathman had lured them away because he wanted to do something on Lazarus Island. He sent them to Japan with lies about what Flatline was up to. So they all come back. They have to figure out what Lord Deathman's up to. I can't say they really do, though, because what he's up to, it's bigger than this. It leads into Batman versus Robin. So they do catch up with Lord Deathman, who is powered up for a certain reason, you'll have to read. And they have a battle, and they kind of finalize all that, but they don't really learn what was there, and that's because it has to do with Mother Soul. And that part is going to have a lot more to do with Batman versus Robin.
Yep.
It turns out Mother Soul has a certain item that links all the way back with the first few issues of Robin that I think is going to have a lot to do with Robin's part in this whole Batman versus Robin thing that he does not suspect or know anything about even by the end of this. So past that, it's a nice send-off. After the team, does their thing, they have a day at the beach, a final day at the beach. You get a lot of scenes of them having a good time, hanging out, You get a send off with Robin and Flatline for now. You get to find out what's going on with their relationship. A send off with Connor Hawke. It's good. It hits all those notes that you want. They'll let you know where the characters are and where they're going to be for a little while. However, there's also a character spying from a tree line who may be the return of somebody who we thought was dead. Although secretly, I never thought they were dead because, I read into character names. That's the most I'll say on that. And lastly, Mother Soul, her plan is more revealed, and I mean it's got to be some of the crux of this Batman versus Robin series about to start. So that's what's going on in the final issue of Robin. Sad the series is over. I hope they do a comeback. I like them bringing the characters together. I really like what was going on at Lazarus Island.
Yeah.
I think Williamson is just tired. He writes in the back about, or no. I read an interview after I read this where he was talking about how much he enjoyed writing the series, but he's just on so many series.
Yeah.
So we are out of the variant. There is a variant for it, but we are out of it already.
So I've read Batman versus Robin #1, and it's like I can't say anything about it, but I think everybody after it comes out is going to be talking about it and wanting to be on it, and it's rewarding for people who have read Robin leading up to this and World's Finest. That's the two books that kind of feed into it. I think it rewards those people and creates a lot of new storylines for all of those characters going forward. So definitely, if you're not on pull for that at your store, get on Batman vs. Robin, because issue 1 of it was great. And next up for me, we have the return of Gun Honey, the breakout hit, the kind of pulpy spy thriller. Gun Honey is back with a new series called Blood for Blood. We've got this awesome Adam Hughes main cover, and in this one, our main character, Blood Honey, is accused of a crime that, of course, she did not commit, but now everyone is after her, and she is going on the run to try and prove her innocence before the criminals catch up to her, or the good guys in this case catch up to her. So it's kind of a chase story, and if you like your crime stuff very mature, that is what this is. Great art, great covers for this. So this is the Adam Hughes A cover. We have this art germ one that we can't stop talking about.
The honey-covered one.
The honey-covered one, the stickiest girl in the world.
I hope that honeycomb monster from the old commercials don't come across her.
That'd be real bad.
He's going to attack.
Or if she just everything's going to get stuck to you. You walk around, dirt's going to get stuck to you. We've got the McGinnis Virgin variant. We're selling for only $5 to our customers. Very Norman Rockwell style. We also have the Linsner Sketch. This is a 1 in 5 that we are selling to our customers for only $5.
All right. Also out this Wednesday is Captain America, Symbol of Truth, issue number 4. So in this 4th issue, you have Sam Wilson. He has gone to Wakanda for many reasons. And he ends up getting accosted by Crossbones. But more than that, it seems like he may have angered T'Challa, because, you shouldn't really go to Wakanda to do what T'Challa might think is spy work with him around. Meanwhile, Falcon is completely elsewhere. He has to escape his captors from previous issue. And as he does it, he helps out a woman to escape as well, who he might be fallen for a little bit. So that's what's going on in issue 4 of Captain America, Symbol of Truth. And we have this Castellini variant, another Spider-Man Beyond variant.
I think both of the Cat books are supposed to be going towards a crossover soon. Like a event story.
I'm reading them both, and they're both completely doing different things right now. But that's
probably after they both get through their first story arcs.
Yeah,
then come back together.
That.
Okay, next up I've got Avengers Forever, number 5. So this series has been interesting. You know, when it started out, it was about Deathlock and Ghost Rider and that whole thing where Ant-Man, where they're going through the multiverse. Um, Jason Aaron has done an interesting thing where it started out with that. That was the first couple of issues. But then after that, it's been kind of one-shot stories like that Steve Rogers, like I'm in a jail with a bunch of other people named Steve Rogers uh, story with these kind of fun new versions of characters. And that is what this is. And now knowing the story, I see this cover and it makes sense. So in this, there is a multiversal version of Thor, and we kind of catch up to him as he is unworthy. Something has happened that caused him to be unworthy, and he can no longer lift the hammer. So, trying to regain his worthiness, he decides to train in Kunlun with a character called the Thunderer, and to become Iron Fist. So this is the story of Thor trying to become Iron Fist to regain his worthiness so he can pick up the hammer. You get great scenes where instead of punching, like a wooden pillar or whatever, he is punching Mjolnir that just mockingly floats in front of him until his knuckles bleed. This is a crazy issue, but written so well. And at the end, Thor may become not Thor, God of Thunder, and not Iron Fist. Maybe something all new. So I will say this could be a first appearance of a character. You know, this series is chock full of them, so I don't know what this character is going to play in the future. But if you just collect everything of a character getting a new identity, this is one of those. So a really, really fun issue of Avengers Forever. And we have a variant. This is the Juan Jose Rip Predator variant.
Okay, so I read Carnage issue number 5, and this is an ongoing series. I want everyone to know that. You know, sometimes Marvel won't exactly say, and then around issue 5 or 6, you find out that's it.
Yeah.
But this is ongoing for sure. The second arc, I think, is starting as of next issue. This issue, as far as collectability, it is the first appearance of a Carnageized Hellhound. So Carnage makes himself a Carnageized. Well, there is a Hellhound. He didn't make the Hellhound, but he Carnageizes it, and it is his pet. And it's not like just a one-off. It's in this issue and it dies or something. No, he actually just shows it off this issue. You know, he's more like, I have this now. I can't wait to use it coming up. So first appearance of Carnage's Hellhound dog. Now, in this issue, what's going on is Carnage and his sort of companion, Kenneth, and this is not Carnage is not like his symbiote. Like, this is literally a serial killer that he's just been bringing with him places. We don't know exactly why. They're in the land of the Dark Elves, and Carnage has left Kenneth on his own, and Kenneth has teamed up with this other Dark Elf who is also missing a hand. Carnage kind of cut Kenneth off sort of by accident a while back. And they have a lot in common. And this Dark Elf basically tells Kenneth, hey, how about we take down Carnage? I think I have a plan where we could beat him and you can be free of this crazy guy. It's a very interesting issue. Like, halfway through, I was like, what's going to happen here? Do they really think they're going to beat Carnage? And, you know, what is happening? This is a really well-written issue. When you see the second half of what happens, you'll understand Carnage has a lot of tests that he's putting Kenneth through. I don't think it's necessarily to make him his new host, though. But it's really interesting. He plays some really sick, twisted mind games with him, but with a point. It's not just to gross him out or anything. So that's the most I'll say. By the end of the issue, it's pretty satisfying read. I like this issue of Carnage a lot. You get to see Carnage kill a lot of Dark Elves in this issue, too. And you're like, is this all this is about? But it is not. It is more to do with what's going on with Kenneth and this Dark Elf friend he makes. So we have... there is not a variant to this one. So I think there is a variant, but it's been delayed.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
That's been true with some of the books this week that
Yeah, and
they're actually
they won't
delayed.
tell us stores that either. Like it'll just literally not be on our invoice and not in our order, and we will look and be like, we did order that. Next week it'll appear
Mhm.
suddenly. So if your shop doesn't have the variant for Carnage #5 this week, that is why it is one of those unspoken delays
Mhm.
that we find out about when they're just not in the box.
Well, my last one is one chock full of first appearances and one you got to really check out. I think he's going to be a big one. This is Detective Comics number 27. Keep an eye on that. Who's in this? Tenderfoot and Buck Marshall. I think they're going to be hot. No, DC is putting out a facsimile edition of Detective Comics 27. So this is down to the ads and all of the other stories in it, a recreation of Detective Comics number 27. Very surprising. It's interesting that they did this because there's some content in here. I would say is not what we would currently have in our comics. Just given the time frame this came out, it may have some depictions of certain people that is not very positive.
Not PC
Not
anymore.
at all. You understand what that is. But what's also really fun about this is you realize that Batman, or in this, the Bat-Man, was just one part of this book of a bunch of characters. You have, along with Batman, you have Tenderfoot, Buck Marshall, Spy, Crimson Avenger, Brute Nelson, and Slam Bradley, who actually has recurred in Gotham-related titles since then. But this is really cool. All the ads, the back of it, you have all of the, mail away and get stuff. And DC hasn't done as much of this, so I really recommend picking this up. It's $6.99, so quite a big price hike since its original 10-cent price. But it's really cool to go back and see how Batman was chosen out of a book like this that really got, you know, built up to be something more. A real cool look at history of comics, the different art styles. Siegel and Schuster have stories in here. All around a really fun thing to look back on. And if you're a Batman fan, I feel like this is something you have to read.
Yeah, very happy they did a true facsimile of it.
Yeah.
So not just an excerpt, but
Mm-hmm.
it's all the ads, everything. Okay, so I actually have two left to do. So let me get through these. It is Defenders Beyond #2 is releasing. So there is the first appearance of a new Phoenix in this. I know that's happened a few times in the last few years, but still, I must announce it. New Phoenix. In fact, I'll go so far as to say one of the members of the new Defenders team, you can kind of see many of them on the cover, ends up being the new Phoenix. So it's not a new character, it's just a character we know in this book becomes a Phoenix Force by the end of it. You'll have to read to see why. So last issue, the Beyonder showed up. This issue, the Beyonder explains to the new team a lot about the history of the Celestials and about where they came from, what they're doing now, and what they hope to do. There's some deep explanation on that. But then they also meet this team of Beyonders. They all look the same though, called the Omega Council, and they're supposed to be sort of reality engineers, so very very powerful entities. Well, these powerful entities are not happy with what the Defenders are trying to do, so they get into a battle, and the battle is very cool. The most I'll say about it is there anyone that America Chavez cannot punch in the face? She will find a way to
Yeah.
punch you in the face, and she will do it. So all that happens in Defenders Beyond issue #2. And we have this variant. This is the Bradshaw variant to it. And then my last one is Shang-Chi and the Ten Rings issue #2. This is restarted from the team that was doing the previous Shang-Chi title. It just sort of continued. They just added in the element of the Ten Rings. But that is sort of the focal point of this. In fact, in issue #1, all these villainous organizations gathered together, all attacked Shang-Chi to get the Ten Rings. He barely held them off. Well, in this issue, Shang-Chi puts the rings in an even more secure location. At least that's what he claims. And a whole other story develops. So an ex-lover from his past comes back to Shang-Chi and asks for his assistance because a mutual friend of theirs has been kidnapped. So the two of them have to go to this evil lair. They fight all kinds of villains, get through all these traps. There's a sort of a main villain with a power they have to battle. All that's cool, all that's fun. But is it all as it seems? What I will say is you seem to get away from the 10 rings in this issue, but it all comes back to the 10 rings with the surprise ending. So another very enjoyable, awesome second issue of Shang-Chi and the 10 Rings #2. If you like the first series, which I did, the writing, the art, it stays just as good
Seamless.
as it was, really. And it just has this one variant. This is the cola variant to that.
Whew.
And that is everything that we have prepared for this week to review. So thank you all very much. We hope we have done our job in telling you sort of the collectability reasons why you may want these books, but also what's going on in them and which ones you want to collect to read, and because you love the writing, the art of comics, the way the stories are told, just like we do. So if you haven't subscribed to our channel, please hit the subscribe button. We do appreciate that. Our co-host on Comics from the Future, Megan, will be doing a show on Whatnot where she'll be selling comics, some of these new ones. Her show is called Something Old, Something New. So she'll sell a new book that isn't even out yet, or a variant, or an incentive, and then she'll sell some Silver Age book afterwards.
She should just sell this. It is something old and something new together.
And she won't mention it's a facsimile. We'll see how high it goes. But anyway, she'll be doing that on Whatnot tonight at 7 o'clock. The full team will be back this Friday on Comics from the Future. So thank you for watching, and we will hopefully see you then.